Scott Major is an attorney, author, and former professional athlete. He's on the phone with us. Scott, good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, great to have you. What kind of a professional athlete were you?
Tennis player.
Tennis player. You were an athlete. See, because, Scott, you have to understand, my definition of sport versus game is anything you can do while smoking a cigarette is not a sport. It's a game. So golf is marginal, but swimming and tennis, definitely sports because, track and field, obviously a sport. You understand my point?
Yeah, thanks for the endorsement. I'll send you the check.
Well, I appreciate that. And but Lance Armstrong, after years of vehemently denying any wrongdoing, 7-time Tour de France winner, millions of dollars in endorsements, his foundation, the Livestrong Foundation, and so forth, all in jeopardy. His endorsements, by and large, are gone now, and he could face more serious consequences. Where are we in this mess?
Well, it's a civil and criminal nightmare. He's got SCA Promotions, which is a company that paid him $7.5 million for his Tour de France wins, like in 02, 03, and 04, and they're going to want their money back. You got the Sunday Times, who paid him $1.5 million in a defamation settlement suit, that they're going to look for, return the money. You got Floyd Landis, who's suing Armstrong and his team managers for somewhere around $30 million, that he paid the Postal Service, which, by the way, they'll get back treble damages if they want. You got Betsy Andrew, who is the wife of one of his teammates, who testified almost 18 years ago that he engaged in doping and he ruined her life. You got Greg LeMond, who lost all these multi-million-dollar endorsements. He's one of the greatest cyclists of all time because of Armstrong's conduct. You got Emma O'Reilly, the massage person for the team in the 2000s, who he defamed and destroyed when she reported he was doping. And you got Tyler Hamilton, who was the fellow teammate you may have remembered, who mentioned on 60 Minutes. That's not even mentioning things like the Australian government officials who paid him millions and millions of dollars for appearances fees, and perhaps most significant, how about all the people who finished second, in all these Tour de France's that would be multi-zillionaires as a result of his doping that caused that. It's incredible. I mean, you even have one of the former athletes, Filippo Simoni, who actually sued Armstrong a long time ago and lost on defamation when... Well,
Scott, I actually found some good news in there for Lance Armstrong because most of the second-place finishers have already been disqualified for doping and drug use anyway, so they don't have an argument. Well, that's true. That's actually true. I mean, cycling was a culture of, manipulating blood and doping and drug use. It was a whole culture that was going on.
I think you're right. No question about it. And that goes more to the bigger point of, what does this stand for? Shouldn't this be an opportunity for us to, take a step and say what's right and not what's wrong? Shouldn't we have more people standing up and saying, hey, we want somebody with character as our leaders. We want somebody with a moral fiber with our leaders. We don't want to keep endorsing people, who lie and get rewarded for performance-enhancing drugs.
If Armstrong went through all that to hide his secret, why come clean now? What does he have to gain, and will he gain anything?
Well, I think ultimately he will gain very little, but the concept was to reduce his lifetime ban from competitive sports, and I think that's going to blow up in his face because you have to understand part of the requirements under USADA and some of these other organizations are that he actually testify under oath, that he confesses and he rolls on other people, and once he does that, I think he's setting himself up for the criminal prosecutions that maybe couldn't be initiated because of time bans. And I even wonder, honestly, whether or not they could argue that those time bans shouldn't apply because he hid the information, which would have given them the opportunity to prove his perjury.
Well, he certainly, pretty obviously now, lied in depositions and so forth. We have Scott Major on the line, an attorney, an author, and former professional tennis player, discussing the ramifications of Lance Armstrong's confession to Oprah Winfrey. And not only could he be bankrupt, he could be incarcerated.
There's no doubt about it. And you have to understand, there's a whole bunch of stuff we haven't even talked about in terms of the criminal charges from the illegal distribution of steroids, prescription drugs and conspiracy and racketeering and misuse of public funds and so you're going to have some arguments that people are going to come up, but I don't think there's going to be any lack of civil or criminal liability that's going to be out there.
So he's not getting away with a public service announcement, is he?
There's no doubt about it, and I think it's while it's good that he came out and honestly admitted it, it was a blunder of colossal proportion.
Isn't there a lot of pressure, though, on athletes to perform well, forcing many of them to do whatever they have to do to win?
The answer is yes, there is a high level of that. But again, you go back to, what are we saying as a society? Don't we want to have something strong where we can say, listen, we're not going to tolerate that. We're not going to let people into the Hall of Fame baseball players who have performance-enhancing drugs. We're not going to reward athletes who engage in this kind of stuff. I mean, yes, there's pressure, but it's got to give way. At some point in time, we have to stand up and say, we have to believe in what's right and good.
So where do we do that today? I mean, are there any heroes left? Because at one point, make no mistake, Lance Armstrong was a hero for, kids and people like me. I ride my bike a fair amount, and he's a guy you think about. I mean, if he can do this, I can try this. And, and you look at Trek Bicycles, another place that they're going to be wanting their money back, I would think. Are there any heroes left in this country?
It's a very difficult question to answer. I would say, just using the tennis analogy, you look at Roger Federer. I mean, he stands for a lot of great things that are right. His donations, his attitude about life, the way he presents himself on a tennis court, the way he behaves. I mean, these are the types of people that you want to follow, people that are really standing for what's good and right. And I just think we have to take a bigger strong about that. I do think culturally we can create that. We just have to make sure that we reward people who are behaving in that positive way.
Okay, here's the question then. Last question, about 20 seconds. Who's more rotten, Tiger Woods or Lance Armstrong?
I'd say Lance Armstrong from a way he killed people, in all that he did, and Tiger Woods for the disgusting character flaws.
There you go.
I agree.
Scott, way to bring us some good insight on this. Scott Major, attorney, author, and former professional tennis player. Thank you for joining us on Michigan's Morning Show.
Hey, it was a pleasure being with you guys. Good luck.
All right, have a great day.